What if your school could unlock hundreds of thousands of pounds to expand or create a nursery without even touching your core budget? Each year, schools all across England completely transform their early years spaces thanks to the School-based Nursery Capital Grant, or SBN grant. However, schools either miss the deadline or realise they're not eligible to apply for it. Hi, I'm Ben, one of the content specialists here at Pentagon Play, the UK's #1 designer and installer of indoor and outdoor environments. And today, we're going to be breaking down exactly how to apply for the SBN grant step by step, so you don't miss the opportunity to completely transform your early years space. So, let's start with the basics. What exactly is the School-based Nursery Capital Grant? Well, to put it simply, the School-based Nursery Capital Grant is an initiative designed by the Department for Education to help primary phase schools all across England either create, expand, or improve nursery settings for 2 to 4 year olds. In fact, the Department of Education has projected that this year alone, nearly half of local areas across England will need to increase their capacity for childcare spaces by between 10 to 20%. There's still a backlog for over 70,000 additional spaces and over 35,000 early years educators needed too. And that's for the September that's just gone. That's crazy. So, why focus on school-based nurseries and not fund private nurseries? According to statistics released by the government, school-based nurseries made up 22% of total registered childcare places in recent years. That means 1 in 5 children in England had attended a school-based nursery. Due to how prevalent these types of nurseries are, the government is keen to keep school-based nurseries operating whilst expanding them to cover more of England. During phase 1 of the School-based Nursery Capital Grant, hundreds of schools all across England started to establish their own school-based nurseries within their local areas thanks to the funding provided by this grant. Not only did the new school-based nurseries provide more childcare spaces for the local communities, but it also helped the school provide a seamless transition between nursery and primary school, attract new parents due to the complete offerings provided by the school, impress local stakeholders due to the improvement of childcare with Ofsted inspections. It's no surprise really why so many schools across England experience immense growth due to the funding, from turning ambitious visions into thriving school nursery environments, helping benefit the entire school community. And the best part of it? That exact funding is available to your school right this very second for the 2025 to 26 academic year, and it's known as Phase 2 of the School-based Nursery Capital Grant. But, and that's a big but, your school needs to learn how to access this funding to experience the exact same immense growth that hundreds of schools across England experienced firsthand. So, before we dive into the application process, let's answer some of the most common questions we got asked here at Pentagon Play during Phase 1 of the School-based Nursery Capital Grant. And there's no better question to start with than, is your school even eligible for the School-based Nursery Grant? The Department of Education has listed 7 key criteria, and your school needs to meet all 7 of them to be eligible for the grant. So, let's break them down one by one. We didn't receive funding during Phase 1 or the 2024 to 25 rollout of the scheme. If your school received funding last year, then unfortunately you are not able to reapply during Phase 2 of the scheme. You're creating more nursery spaces. Your project needs to result in a net increase in childcare spaces available at your school, even if you already have pre-existing childcare provisions in place. Your project fits within the £150,000 budget. The grant won't cover any projects that exceed this amount, so make sure that your plans are realistic and stay within the budget. You can be up and running by September 2027. The Department for Education expects all applicants to be welcoming in children and be operational by this date. Your nursery will be built on the right type of site. That means either a primary phase school with pre-existing early years education provisions, such as a reception class, or a maintained nursery school. You've got the landowner's permission. Whether that's the local authority, a trust, or a religious body, you need to have written permission by the landowner to use their land for your project. You've spoken to your local authority. That means that you have engaged in conversation with your local authority's planning, place and permission team, as well as your early years lead, gaining their formal approval. Alongside this, you will also need to submit a local authority approval form. If you can tick all 7 of the criteria listed before, then congratulations! You're eligible to apply this year for the SBN grant. If not, then don't worry. This is why early preparation is key. If you engage in these conversations sooner rather than later, you're giving yourself and your school plenty of time to navigate your way through the application. The sooner you start these conversations, the smoother your application will be. Another big question that we got asked plenty of times during the last funding round was, can the funding be used for both outdoor and indoor nursery provisions? And to put it simply, yes, it can be used for both. The SBN Capital Grant can support a wide range of improvements, from refurbishing your classroom to increase the amount of childcare spaces, to overhauling your outdoor environment to create an environment where children can learn, play and grow. In fact, many of the most successful projects combine both indoor and outdoor upgrades to create a truly unique and inspiring nursery space. Now you may be thinking, that sounds like a lot of work. Can projects be phased over multiple academic years? And you'll be happy to know that yes, they absolutely can. Your project can be planned across multiple different phases that cover the span of multiple academic years. However, it's important to note that the Department for Education requires that all applicants have their school-based nursery operational for September 2026. Our top tip here at Pentagon Play is to ensure that all of the necessary parts of your school-based nursery are completed by the deadline laid out by the Department for Education. Then, once September 2026 has gone, you can start focusing on the other aspects to further improve your nursery provision, making sure that you hit that deadline of September 2027. This allows for much bigger projects to become more manageable, allowing you to dedicate more of your time efficiently, ensuring that the project is completed within the deadlines. Now, you might also be wondering, does your school-based nursery have to meet EYFS requirements? Any space or equipment funded via the School-based Nursery Capital Grant must follow the early years foundation stage requirements. These EYFS requirements ensure that your school-based nursery remains safe, accessible, and supportive for learning and development. Key areas that must be considered before you start creating your school-based nursery include safety and accessibility. It should provide a safe environment for children to thrive in. Space requirements. Your space should have plenty of usable room whilst also supporting a free-flow environment, allowing your indoor and outdoor spaces to feel connected. Learning environment. Your nursery should be able to facilitate the key EYFS learning goals. Sanitation and hygiene. Your facilities must be age appropriate and also meet all regulatory standards. Working with experienced suppliers makes compliance straightforward and can help build a stronger application, ensuring that you have a better chance of being accepted. There's a good possibility that you're starting to wonder, what accessibility requirements should you plan in? That question is pretty easy to answer. Equipment such as wheelchair ramps, pathways, accessible toilets and other forms of equipment can ensure that your nursery space remains easily accessible to those in wheelchairs and those who have physical disabilities. Another top tip from us here at Pentagon Play is to try and plan in accessibility as early as possible. You'll often find it a lot harder when you're further down the journey of creating your school-based nursery to fit in certain accessibility items. Please ensure that you plan accessibility in straight from the get-go. Now, after all of that information explained, we're finally here talking about how you can make your application for the School-based Nursery Grant of 2025-26 as successful as possible. The key fundamentals of any strong application for the SBN funding grant rely on three key factors: clarity, compliance, and demonstrating impact. If you can make sure that all of the information that appears within your application is clear, and you can ensure the Department for Education that you will deliver a positive impact on childcare needs within your local area, then you are one step closer to being accepted for that grant. Some other key steps that you can take to help increase the chances of you being accepted for the grant include: read the guidance carefully by trying to understand what the Department for Education's goals are for using this grant. Complete the application thoroughly. Fill out all questions that are presented to you in a clear but concise manner, whilst ensuring that any answers that require supporting evidence, such as documents or quotes, are submitted along with your application. Mention both indoor and outdoor provisions, ensuring that your plan highlights that you are trying to create a free-flow integrated environment. And ensure compliance by speaking to your proposed suppliers to ensure that all safety, accessibility, and regulatory standards are being met. And now we reach the main part of the process, the application itself. The Department of Education has broken down the application into 5 sections. It is key to remember that all 5 sections must be filled out by applicants, aiming to leave no question unanswered. It's important to note that in this video, we're only giving you a brief overview of each of the 5 sections. For a more in-depth look at each specific question and how to answer them, make sure you check the blog that's linked in the description below. Section 1 is all about the eligibility criteria. Now, if you've watched this video from the beginning, you'll remember that we've covered this section in great detail. However, if you're still unsure whether your school is or isn't eligible for the School-based Capital Nursery Grant, make sure you head back to that previous chapter and listen again. It's important to note that if your school does not meet at least one of these key criteria, then sadly, you will not be eligible for this year's funding scheme. However, it's not all doom and gloom. You can still register your interest on the Department for Education's website for Phase 3 of the School-based Nursery Grant. However, not much information is available at this time regarding it, so make sure you stay tuned once we have an update. Section 2 is all about your school or trust. The Department of Education wants to learn more about your school and who the relevant person is who will be receiving all the communications in the future by the Department for Education. Even though this section does not seem that important, as it does not affect your overall score towards the application, it is vital that the information is correct. The reason for this is to ensure that all further communications are sent to the right person to ensure that the process remains quick and effective. So, before you submit any information, please do double check that everything is correct, as changing this in the future can be a real hassle and time waster. Just like Section 2, Section 3 will not be assessed, meaning it will not count towards whether your application is successful or rejected. Section 3 is all about providing the Department for Education with information about your project. It's important to note that things like additional planning permissions and significant change forms will be required at this point. In addition to this, Section 3 also acts as a point where applicants can provide additional context towards their application. For example, in this section you'll be covering questions such as what type of project it is, what the timeline is looking like, who will be running the nursery, and if you'll have to register for an early years inspection with Ofsted. Now we reach Section 4, the biggest part in the entire application. It's important to know that within this section, you'll be providing all of the information regarding your school-based nursery project, and this information will be assessed. Due to this, it's important that all answers are checked thoroughly, as your answers within this section will be scrutinised by 2 assessors. So, before you submit any answers, please ensure that you have double-checked all of the information you are supplying. Alongside this, please ensure that all evidence that is required by the Department for Education, such as planning permissions, designs, plans and budgets, are all attached to the application form. You can easily do this through the online portal. Now we reach section 5, arguably the easiest out of the 5 sections. All section 5 is a declaration that you understand and confirm that you are happy to proceed with the School-based Nursery Grant. Just like with all terms and conditions, we would highly recommend that you take time to read thoroughly through each clause within the terms and conditions. Once you've made it to this final section, all you have to do is check the box that you're happy to continue and press submit. And hey presto, you've managed to submit your School-based Nursery Capital Funding Grant application for Phase 2. It's important to note, however, that once you press that submit button, you will not be able to change any of the information you have submitted. So, as I have stressed many times previously, please triple check everything that you are putting as an answer. Ensure that all the information and details you are providing are correct. So, by now you're probably wondering, where does Pentagon Play come into all of this? And the answer is quite simple. Combining over 25 years worth of experience in designing and installing playgrounds to refurbishing and completely revitalising classroom environments, Pentagon Play have earned a reputation of being a company that not only transforms schools and nurseries across England, but revitalises them and makes learning fun and enjoyable. By choosing us to be your educational furniture and playground equipment supplier, we can provide your school with the following things: free consultations with industry experts with years of experience, project planning and budgeting to help with your application, design expertise with each playground and classroom being designed by a true expert, installation with teams based all around the country. No school is too far for us. Aftercare. Our company offers an outstanding level of aftercare, ensuring that you are 110% happy with the products you have purchased from us. Online shop. We also provide a gateway for customers to purchase equipment from us unlike any other in the industry. And partnerships. We've had the pleasure of working closely with some of the most experienced and determined companies within the industry, from Millhouse and their incredible range of early years furniture to Rhino Sensory and their out-of-this-world sensory play equipment. Last year, we had the pleasure of helping hundreds of schools plan out their dream school-based nursery, and we're hoping to do the exact same thing again for Phase 2, but this time we're amping it up. With less restrictions than ever, the designs are truly going to be incredible this year, as we aim to help thousands of nursery-age children experience an education unlike any other, and we hope to take that journey with you. So, what are you waiting for? If you're excited to bring your school-based nursery vision to life, then contact us today and see what our consultants can do for you. For any more information regarding the School-based Nursery Grant, please check out the Pentagon Play website and look at our blogs. We have written a wide variety that answer some of the most common questions for giving you a complete overall guide on how to fill out the application. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.